Welcome to the Bill and Gypsy Show.
where we help you turn your wedding dreams of sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows
Into amazing experiences that will help you create oohs and ahs from all of your guests at your wedding.
Bill Hansen has catered over 10,000 weddings starting back in the 1960s. And y'all, while he's 74 years young, he is not retired, he is refired. South Florida weddings at Villa Woodbine, Biscaya Museum and Gardens, Steering Estates, Back Club, you name it, over like 500 venues in the area are sought after by those with very distinctive tastes.
And there's more to Gypsy than sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. She's lived her whole life in weddings, and Gypsy knows what works and what doesn't work. So if you're excited about your forthcoming wedding, but you're confused, maybe frustrated, perhaps a little bit worried that you're going to not get a good deal, on today's show, you will learn how to make the most of your wedding and make the planning experience one of peace and freedom.
On today's show, our guest is Verna Shores, Locations Extraordinaire, who's an expert on everything you need to know about locating that perfect and very exclusive venue. She will walk us through the process and the questions that you need to ask in order to locate that perfect venue. Miss Verna, it is our pleasure to welcome you to the show.
Hi, everybody. Delighted to be here. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, Verna, you and I go way back. I think we've known each other 15, 20 years. And
it's been much longer. I've been in Florida almost 40 years, and I knew about you the moment that I got into town. Bill is the top caterer in Miami, without question, everyone. So we're certainly talking to the right people.
And Verna, I can't help but tell this story about when we were working an event together at a Fort Lauderdale mansion, and my cell phone slipped between the seat and the console of my car. And I couldn't get it out because my hands were too big. And you came over with your dainty little tiny hands and slipped your hand right down there and retrieved the cell phone. So that was great. So Verna,
I could do.
You have so many connections within the world of estates and mansions, and these are all sought after venues. So how did you get started in this business?
It's a bit of a story. I'll make it very fast. My parents were in Palm Beach. I started to know about a lot of people that lived in Palm Beach. I came into town and I was modeling because I had done that in Toronto forever and a day. And eventually the hotels would say to me, Verna, we know that there are some people starting to use gorgeous mansions, and we know that they're your gorgeous mansions. Could we start to use them for corporate events? And I said, well, why would anyone want to have strangers in their homes unless it's fashion and photographers and Gucci and Armani and Bloomies? And they said, money. And I said, oh yes, that just might work. So it started to snowball and snowball. And now my corporate wedding business is equally as large as fashion, if not larger, because fashion you can only do for a few months out of the year, where corporate and weddings are year round. I love this end of the business. I love it. I love the brides. I love the corporate people. I love the bridal consultants. Which brings me to the first point. Without a bridal consultant, the bride is not going to be a princess on her day. And that's the most important thing that she wants, is to feel free, to feel happy, not stressed, and to have a marvelous bridal consultant at your side at all times. She'll disappear into the background, but you'll know that she'll be there if there's anything.
That's right, Miss Verna. As you mentioned, she's the princess of the day. And you are an expert on locating that perfect palace, that a beautiful mansion, exclusive estate for her. How do you pull from her what she's always dreamed of, what she has in her mind of the perfect location? What's the process you go through to tap into that?
Usually, when I meet the bride and I meet the bridal consultant, over a cup of tea, we will start to chit-chat about the bride's envision as to how she sees that spectacular day. And she'll go through the day, and we'll go through it with her to be able to understand where she wants to have the ceremony. Is it going to be at the same mansion? Is it going to be in a church and then they're going to come to the mansion? Where are the brides and the bridesmaids, if there's bridesmaids, going to change into their gowns? Where are they going to get their makeup touched up? Not done from scratch, not at the mansion, done a little beforehand, and then arrive at the mansion, if they're going to use the mansion, where they can simply change into their clothes, touch up their hair, touch up their makeup. And they need to know where they're going to have their portraits or their wedding photos done before the guests arrive. Because once the guests arrive and once the wedding starts, you don't want to spend another hour doing photos. You want to have that done beforehand when you're fresh. So there's many things that we go through with the bride. And I need to know if she wants to have a bridal party. She may say, oh no, that's passé. I need to know if she wants to have speeches during the dinner, after the dinner, maybe no speeches at all. Maybe she would like to speak. Now the brides are starting to speak at their own weddings, which I find delightful because I'm very talkative, and it's really fun, instead of having your Uncle Harry, who doesn't know you from Adam, but tells awful stories about you. So it all depends on how you foresee that. And then where do you want to have dancing? Or do you want to do away with all that and have a stand-up, stunning cocktail reception where people can mingle and move around and they're not going to be stuck at a table? It all depends on how the bride envisions her special day and how she wants to say goodbye to everyone. She might want to throw the bouquet. She might want to hop into a car and say goodbye. She might want to be the last person at the venue and possibly even stay over to sleep that evening. So we have a lot to discuss when we get together with the bride.
That's awesome.
It's her vision. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's her fantasy. This is her day of days.
So that's awesome. I liked your comment too about having like a stand-up cocktail reception with casual seating. To me, that is the best way. The most successful weddings I've ever seen is where we've had seating for some of the guests, for the senior people, not you and me, of course, Verna, or you, Gypsy, but but then have it more of a free flow, because so many times people get stuck at a table with someone they hardly know.
More than likely, they don't know them.
Not good. So my question to you is, and Gypsy and I have received this so many times, is we run into these couples that want to be married on the beach, right? On the beach.
Okay, on the beach is a little tricky.
So tell us about that.
Okay, if the bride envisions herself standing on the beach, on the sand, then her shoes are going to have to go. She's not going to be able to stand in high heels in the sand. The sand's going to be a little soft. When you finish with the ceremony, you now have sand all over your feet. If you're going to do it at a mansion, you can't walk into the mansion with sand all over your feet or run to the ladies' room. You need to have someone, when you come off the sand, there to wash your feet and dry your feet, because you're the princess and you've got the gown on. So you need to have someone to assist you. If your bridal party's in the sand, that's a lot of feet to clean up. You could get married overlooking the ocean, where the platform is clean and dry. You still have the ocean in the background. You still have that whole ambiance, but you have on your high heels. You are a lady from the moment that you walk out with your gorgeous gown until the whole evening starts. May I just say one thing, especially about beach weddings? People think because a beach wedding would be more casual, that at the last minute they can throw in another dozen guests. You can't throw in another dozen guests when it's at a private mansion. If you're at a hotel, you can pull the chairs and tables from somewhere else in the hotel. But you don't have those extra chairs and tables at a mansion. You don't have additional parking. You don't have an additional powder rooms. These are all the facilities. These are all the things that you need to think about in advance before you allow your party to get out of control.
That is wonderful advice. Yes, beach weddings, I've done many of them. Boy, have I sweated. Oh my God. That's another thing. They keep forgetting. You're right in the sun, white sand. Oh my Lord. Anyways, in a moment, we're going to touch upon the part about warning signs about some venues. But before we get to that, for destination couples, realistically, how far in advance do they need to get in touch with you to start looking for that perfect venue?
You know, mansions do not work like hotels. God forbid someone should get sick and they're in the hospital and you cannot use their mansion. Or they want to do some renovations, or they want to do whatever it is. I would think that a safe enough time is anywhere between around 9 months, 8-9 months. Because if you book much further out, who knows what could happen? You know, there's so many things that we just unknowns. At a hotel, you can book it 3 years in advance normally, or 2 years in advance. But I would say 9 months in advance would certainly be fine, because even if the mansion owner decides during those 9 months to sell, then you've got at least 6 months where you're going to be fine. And with a big, gorgeous mansion, that mansion is not going to sell within 3 months. So you know that you're going to be perfectly fine to use that mansion. And we'll have it in the contract that if, God forbid, there is an issue, like really an issue, then we will try our absolute level best to find you something just as equally as wonderful. Or if not, of course, you'll get your money back, you know. What can we do when it's a terrible issue?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens when you are dealing with a mansion versus a hotel. They are much more delicate. But believe me, if the mansion owner has said they would like you to do their wedding at their mansion, they want you. And they will do everything they possibly can to make you feel welcome, to make your guests feel welcome. Unlike a hotel, even though they try to be charming, it's not the same as in a private home.
Right. So Verna, I know this is a tough question, but I want to ask you anyway. What if a couple needs to ask you just one question, the one main question in your mind that they need to ask you prior to booking a particular venue or a particular mansion? One thing.
I think the most important thing is they need to know the size of their guest count, so that they'll know if they need to set up a tent or if the mansion is going to allow them to be inside. Because if they're planning this magnificent wedding and they've said to you, oh no, I'm not going to have a tent, I don't like a tent, and even though we know we can roll up the sides and you can do all kinds of things so that you're not feeling like you're in a tent, within a 5-minute downpour in Florida, that could ruin all of your tables. So we need to have a backup plan in the state of Florida. And to me, that's the most important thing, is the backup plan.
Okay, that's
What
good.
do you think is the most important thing?
I agree with you on that. Have a rain plan, because whenever you're outside of a hotel or a banquet hall or another type of indoor facility, there's always a chance of rain, and it can even come in, and it can just be a 30-second downpour.
And ruin everything.
We actually have trained our team at my catering company. We have a system now. We actually have a video that documents what to do when tables are set up outside and we need to cover the tables up. And we have it on tape. So when it does happen, even though the weather report says, no chance of rain, sometimes it rains. So we have to know what to do.
Yeah, this is definitely South Florida, and it can rain at a drop of a hat. But Miss Verna, I know this does not happen with any of your venues, but what is your advice when what's like the warning signs? What's your advice for the warning signs when A bride visits a venue that tells her, this venue is really not legitimate. I don't think they're going to stay in business for very long, or I don't think they're going to actually produce everything that I'm asking them to produce. How do you explain to a bride, hey, these are the warning signs. Make sure when you go to a venue, this is what you need to look for.
I think the bride and I could immediately tell by the owners of the mansion if we're all on the same page. I discuss it with the owners long in advance, but it's one thing for me to discuss it because they adore me. It's another thing for, because I've made sure that people adore me.
Oh, I adore you, girl.
It's art. It's not easy. It's an art. But once I brought the bride and groom, if my mansion owners are a little hesitant, and the bride sees it and I see it, that's a warning sign. That's a warning sign.
Well, now with
you have to worry about parking. You need to worry about how is the caterer going to be able to set up? Where's the caterer going to be able to set up? All those things, of course, we'll take care of. But it's really the interaction with the owner that concerns me the most. Because if you're using Bill as a caterer, he's the most professional caterer in all of Miami, Palm Beach. He's everywhere. You don't need to worry. Bill knows, oh, thank you. That's one of the most important things. Use professionals. Don't come to your bridal consultant and say, oh yeah, my cousin Vinny knows how to cook. No, don't do that. Or my cousin Harry takes really good snapshots. Don't do that. It's your wedding.
Yep.
Spend the extra dollars where it's going to count in your head and in your vision for the rest of your life. Those photos are your memories of that very special day. Don't let Uncle John do the photos. Get yourself a professional.
Yeah, and one of my early catering jobs, I'll never forget it. I can remember it like it was yesterday, back in the 80s. The groom said, oh, don't worry, my brother's going to be the bartender, so you don't have to bring a bartender. And guess who ended up tending bar the majority of the night? His brother got drunk. It was me. So now, with what's going on with the COVID, what types of things or what clauses should any couple make sure is in their contract to protect them in case COVID has something to do with their wedding, whether it's a reduced guest count or perhaps it has to be canceled totally or postponed?
There's one other thing, and this will not sit well with the sweet bride, but I have to say it. Even when you go to your health club now, there is a little piece of equipment that almost looks like a flashlight, and they almost touch it to your forehead to see if you have a fever. And God forbid one of your guests should have that fever. I know you're going to have to turn away your guests and it's going to break your heart, but that guest could infect the entire bridal party. Mm-hmm. So you need to be very cautious. Even if the lovely servers that normally are standing with champagne as your guests walk in, one of them should stand with a little spritz bottle and spray everyone's hands, like a Purell, or it's other things now that sanitize and disinfect that are made for the coronavirus. So the forehead area, I don't even think they have to touch your forehead, and a little bit of spray in your hands, and that should keep you clean. Also, the venue, whether it's a hotel, a private mansion, will be gone through with a fine-tooth comb. There will not be the virus in that building. But if your guest comes in with the virus, that we can't help. So we need to have the guest aware and your servers aware to do the hands and the... And maybe by the time we get the vaccination, hopefully by the end of the year, there won't be any more issues with this. Hopefully.
Oh, that's amazing. Those suggestions are amazing. I just want to say, before I ask my last question, has this been so much fun having you on the show? It really has. If you have one advice to give to a couple who's searching for that beautiful venue, what would that be?
It's a feeling. When the bride walks, the way she chose her wedding gown, it was a feeling. She got into that dress, in that gown, she looked at herself in the mirror and she said, yes, that's the way she needs to feel when she sees the mansion or the venue or the hotel room, whatever it is that she's going to select. She walks in and she says, this is for me. This is going to be my day at this gorgeous location.
Great. So Verna, as far as Gypsy and I, we feel so great to have you share some time with us.
Oh my God, anytime.
You're one of
And
my...
Bill, if you would like your brides to contact me, I will give them all the time in the world that they need over the phone if they would like to do it that way. Even if they're not using one of the mansions, that would be my joy.
That's great. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. You've shared some great information. You've talked a lot about what to look for when you're looking for a mansion, and I certainly can't be more thankful for you sharing it. Thank you again, Verna. We want to ask all our viewers who have made it this far to tune in next week for another great interview. If you have a comment or a question or even a concern, please send us an email to Bill at Bill Hansen Catering or Bill at Bill Hansen Miami Venues. And also you can email Verna. We'll put her email up on the screen. So, and also last thing is, we'd love it if you subscribe to this channel. So we appreciate it. Gypsy, thank you. Verna, thank you. And may God bless everyone that's watching this and keep us safe.
Bye, y'all. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody. Make it magical.